Hello YouTube, in this episode of the PlanetSide 2 Armory we'll be reviewing the EMP grenades for infiltrators. Now there's been a lot of inconclusiveness about the EMP grenades and what exactly they do. The wiki wasn't very descriptive, the forums had conflicting information, and once again, no reviews on YouTube. So I decided to drop another 200 certs on the EMP grenades to do a review of them. Let's get started, shall we? In short, they're not bad. First off, EMP grenades cost 50 infantry resources, more expensive than normal grenades. Only by a little bit, but still, they do cost a little more. And if you, for example, can't afford normal grenades because all of your infantry resources go to trip mines, well, EMP grenades aren't going to be a cheaper alternative for you. So what do they do? Well, first, what don't they do? Answer, quite a lot. You see, I was a Battlefield 2142 player. When I first saw EMP grenades, my best guess was that they would disable vehicles and give infiltrators some sort of anti-armor capability. They don't. I tested EMP grenades on both myself and a vehicle interaction terminal, and then on a vehicle. Despite being hit by an EMP, I could use an EMP terminal, spawn a flash, and drive it. I then EMP'd the flash, and the EMP had no effect. Based on this test, I conclude that EMPs have zero effect on vehicles. I read on the forum that they disabled weapons. This was the case in the beta, but it is not the case at launch. It will not disable weapons for infantry, nor for max units. EMP grenades also will not disable either form of base shield. They don't destroy equipment. I think they might temporarily disable equipment, but even if that is the case, if a trip mine is still active, it'll just kill one of your teammates once you've passed it. Therefore, I'd question its usefulness even in the best case. And if you know a trip mine is there, why not just shoot it and make sure no one else steps on the damn thing instead of blowing 50 infantry resources to disable it for a few seconds? So they don't hurt base shields, they don't disable terminals, and they don't do anything to vehicles. What can they do? Well, they're basically a sidegrade to normal grenades. The way they work is anything caught in the blast radius takes 100% shield damage. Everyone within blast radius is affected, even if out of line of sight. However, players that aren't within line of sight will take reduced effects. If within line of sight, it will disable the heads-up display and may blur your screen, but it doesn't blur it enough to obscure much, so I don't consider it a valid effect. If within line of sight, your shields will be disabled until the effects of the grenade wear off, about 10 seconds. If you're outside the line of sight, you will retain your heads-up display and have your shields flashed. The way shields work in this game is they start regenerating after a timer after you've taken damage, but EMP grenades don't do damage, they just remove shields. So a person outside of line of sight will lose their shields, but the shields won't have the regeneration delay triggered, meaning all that shield damage will come back in a couple of seconds. Another thing to note is that players both inside the line of sight and outside have their energy depleted. This seems to be buggy. I'll put in an annotation if it gets fixed, but at the moment it doesn't seem to drain consistently. It does not disable a class's abilities. While EMP'd, I can still enter Cloak, but it does drain my cloaking energy bar. So it just drains energy, or rather, is supposed to. The EMP grenades do affect teammates, but won't give you any friendly fire warning. Now, the main positive trait of the EMP grenades is the blast radius. With normal grenades, you have a small kill radius and a somewhat larger damage radius, and at the edge of that, you'll only take a tiny amount of damage, even with no flak armor. The EMP grenade's blast radius is larger than the grenade's blast radius, and seems to be over 3 times the kill radius of the normal grenade. Furthermore, the shield loss is full for everyone affected, even if they're standing at the very edge of the blast radius. This can create situations where it would be more valuable to have than a normal grenade, simply because the blast radius is so large, and the effects hit everyone regardless of distance. The only mitigating factor is line of sight, which will still reset shields to a regenerating state. So basically it's a grenade that has a little over double the total blast radius of the normal grenade, but instead of killing at the center, it kills shields at any range, and to an extent drains energy. What do I think of them? They're not bad. They do have some uses. You could hit a large group of enemies and then attack with your weapon, and since shields are about half a player's health, this would let you, for example, use a rifle that otherwise would require 2 hits to now only take 1. I do see the EMP grenades as being valid for eliminating a group of enemies that otherwise weren't quite close together enough for a frag to kill. Each enemy would also have less time to react to you shooting them. In this clip, I quickly dispatched 4 EMP'd players. They were close together enough that a single frag would have probably killed all 4, but using an EMP and a few bullets instead isn't that big a loss. Especially with the infantry resource cost being so similar. So you could argue that it'd be better to bring an EMP grenade into battle than a normal frag grenade, since it'd cover more situations. And if you're up for some sport as a sniper, maybe you'll get more of a thrill from killing EMP'd enemies than just using a normal frag. Another thing to note is that they detonate much faster than a normal grenade and offer no grenade danger warning indicator. So you could also argue that, generally speaking, these are advantages over the normal grenade. If you combo it with a rifle, you can quickly dispatch a group of EMP'd enemies because their health is so low, which makes fighting with a pistol or a rifle a much more friendly circumstance to you as an infiltrator. I can see myself using EMP grenades if I played an infiltrator more. They're not bad. And if you like some sport and would find it more enjoyable to shoot multiple enemies in a row rather than kill a group with a frag, you might like them more than normal grenades. This, combined with faster detonation and no warning indicator, also makes it less likely that enemies can escape. A flat reduction to the health of your opponents means that their window to react to you and fight back will also be smaller. EMP grenades are an effective side grade, so on the whole, with that in mind, I'd give them a thumbs up. However, that leaves one other issue, the buy-in cost of 200 certs. I have to ask the question, are they worth 200 certs, or could you spend those 200 certs elsewhere and get more for it? Well, we have to remember all the things EMP grenades don't do. They are an anti-infantry tool, and can be more effective than normal grenades, and can eliminate a more spread apart group of enemies than a frag could, or be used to clear effectively if you roll with an organized infantry squad. But they don't do anything else. They're okay, but they could do with a buff. Personally, I'd like them to be able to disable base shields for a few seconds so that infiltrators could, infiltrate. That, or be made to disable vehicles for a short time. I think they need some sort of utility use. Personally, I found the use of EMP grenades to render a group at half health and massacring them with a rifle or pistol to be very enjoyable. And I would probably run with EMP grenades normally, but that's just me. They don't offer infiltrators any sort of anti-armor tool, and the energy drain is buggy to put it lightly. For some people, they're not going to do enough to justify investing in them. I can't really tell you if you should get them or not, but hopefully now you know all you need to know about them to make your own call if they're good for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.